In our last video blog, we discussed 501c3 status, what it is and what it isn't. And out of that discussion, there was one single question that came out above all the others. Do churches actually need 501c3 status? Stay right there because this week's Start Church video blog starts right now. Welcome to the Start Church video blog, available right here on our website or replayed on our YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the little bell icon so you get notified when new content drops. Let's get into it. A solid legal foundation is essential for a church to be lasting and impactful within its community. As every pastor knows, starting a church is a marathon, not a sprint. Part of running a successful church marathon is incorporating your church, adopting governing documents, and obtaining 501c3 status. You may be asking yourself, should my church obtain 501c3 status? What are the benefits of doing so? Am I inviting the government to intervene in my church's affairs? Now, let's talk about why your church should obtain the 501c3 status. One of the main reasons that pastors have chosen to pursue the 501c3 status for their church is the simple fact that it alleviates the burden of proof for their donors. In court cases such as Jacqueline Taylor versus Commissioner, we see the burden placed on donors of churches without 501c3 status. If a donor is audited, he or she must establish or prove that the church meets the requirements and qualifications of Section 501c3 organization. Now, that's an awful big burden for an individual to carry. We often speak with pastors who've received information from other pastors, friends, or illegitimate online articles without checking the sources. One of the most common misconceptions we hear is we don't need the 501c3 status because we are a 508 church. Many believe a 508 church to be a church outside of the law. The information about church operating under 508c1a is misleading at best and destructive at worst. To be clear, Section 508c1a of the Internal Revenue Code relieves churches of the obligation to apply for 501c3 tax-exempt status to be considered charitable organizations. By its very nature, a church is regarded as a charitable organization and thus does not have to apply for 501c3 status to be deemed so. However, big however, there is no provision under the law that allows any organization, church or otherwise, to receive tax-exempt donations without meeting the requirements under Section 501c3. So this means that even though churches do not have to file the 1023 application to apply for the 501c3 status, they still have to operate following 501c3 standards. In Brock Ministries vs. Rosati Branch Ministries, a church applied for and received 501c3 exemption. The church was later found guilty of intervening in a political campaign and its tax-exempt status was revoked. The revocation went back to the beginning of the tax year, where it was found to be out of compliance. Had the church not applied for 501c3 exemption, it would have likely been deemed a non-tax exempt organization from the beginning of its existence. Let me be clear, having 501c3 status protected this church, not hindered its religious liberties. Applying for 501c3 status is optional for churches, but to not do so can limit your church and ultimately be detrimental to its congregants. So let's define what church organizations are. Some churches come to us years after their first service and already have hundreds of attendees. Other churches we work with are still in the planning phases or have just begun meeting in a home with a handful of congregants. The term church is found but not explicitly defined in the Internal Revenue Code. With the exception of the special rules for church audits, the use of the term church also includes conventions and associations of churches, as well as integrated auxiliaries of a church. Specific characteristics are generally attributed to churches. Well, let's take a look at those. These attributes of a church have been developed by the IRS and by court decision. They include distinct legal existence, recognized creed and form of worship, definite and distinct ecclesiastical government, formal code of doctrine and discipline, distinct religious history, membership not associated with any other church or denomination, organization of ordained ministers selected after completing prescribed courses of study, literature of its own, established places of worship, regular congregations, regular religious services, Sunday schools for religious instruction of the young, schools for the preparation of its members. The IRS generally uses a combination of these characteristics, together with other facts and circumstances, to determine whether an organization is considered a church for federal tax purposes. 501c3 is not about government restrictions, but a God-given tool that removes unnecessary pressure from your church and your donors. Our goal at StartCHURCH is to help you establish a solid legal foundation for your church or ministry. Keep in mind that you must take time to consider all the options when establishing your church's legal foundation. This includes, but not only obtaining the 501c3 status, but also incorporating your church and adopting appropriate governing documents. Give us a call at 877-794-1180 or schedule a free 30-minute consultation with a church planning specialist to discuss our Start Right service. Pace yourself to run the race that God set before you, for He will give you the strength and resources you need to succeed. Let StartCHURCH come alongside you to run this marathon together. We hope this video blog has been informative. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel on YouTube for more great information for you and your ministry. Till next time, God bless you and your ministry.